Hey Andre, it's Kara here, and I am here with Sprint1. So the start to the engines I didn't think it was that hard as last time as Centipede. So definitely felt a lot better about starting this engines project instead. So I'm going to first start with the asset manager and everything. So I know you said in the requirements that we had to have three separate managers for the shader, the model, the texture. Well, as I made all three of those managers and I was looking at the code, I was like, why am I making three separate managers for this when they all do the same exact thing? So, like I remembered from last semester with redundancy, is that redundancy is bad and it's not even needed. So why have three singletons that all do the same thing when you can put them all in one and they can just be one singleton? I could be completely wrong. I mean, and you can let me know, but I mean, it works and it's fine. So it didn't do anything stupid. So I'm assuming that it's okay. But I mean, I have my obviously with the singleton, you need your terminate, you need your little constructor in the private, you need the copy, the assignment, the destructor here too, and then you need your instance creator, so then it obviously creates a new instance. So then I go back to the top, and then we have the load models, load model, shader, texture, we have the unloads, we have the get, and then we have, for later use, I know you said the load default models. I was a little confused about what you wanted in there. I'm assuming it's whatever is in game CPP that looks like this. So instead of doing these all one by one, I'm assuming you just copy those and you paste them in the default load. So I'm pretty sure that's what you do. I just didn't do it in this case just to show off what's going on. But let's go back to the asset manager. So when we were sitting in class yesterday and we were talking about ways to store these, I didn't want to touch STL because it looks scary, and I was reading the documentation about it, and it had a lot of stuff in there that I don't know, it was just a lot of things that I didn't want to use. And also, when you include something of, STL of that caliber, you're just kind of including a lot of things that you don't need. So I took the make your own little hash table, which honestly is not as hard as I thought it was going to be. So let's look at one of them, for example. So let's go into the model. So in the model table node, we have obviously constructor that takes in a key and then a model pointer value, and then we have the get value and we have a get key, and then obviously the model value and key, and then we go here and it's pretty simple. I mean, this key is going to be your in key, and then the value is going to be your in value, and the other two just return values and keys. Pretty simple. But everything happens obviously in the asset manager. So let's go to load. So we'll just look at the load model. So right here. So in the load model, it takes in a string of a key and then a string of a value. Because obviously, like we did in Centipede, you had to put in your name that you wanted to make it, and then over here was going to be the address, I guess. So we have to make the model a C string. So model star equals new model, change it into C string. And then we have to go through the key, and then we have to assign it its own value. Pretty simple. And then the hash is basically taking the mod of the table size, which I just gave it 100 for now. So each table over here, so model hash table, the shader hash table, texture, they each have a size of 100, but obviously I'll change this in the future when I just want to start not having a set table size. I should probably explain this one really fast too. So it's just basically creating the hash table. So we have a new, for every new node or whatever, we, everything in that hash table of size I, which is the table size, each thing gets set to 0, so it's empty. So if you want 100 empty spaces, like here, you're going to get 100 empty spaces. So let's go back to the asset manager. So we were here, so it creates the hash, and then while the position in the hash table is there, and like there's something there, and then the key is not equal to the temporary value. We do a hash. It basically, if there's something there, and then you can't put something there, obviously. Like if there's a value already at position 5, well, you can't put it at position 5, so you're just gonna go up 1. You're gonna check each time. And then I did do debug messages for my loading, model loaded, which I'll display in a second. And then let's go to, and obviously they're the same for the texture and then the shader as well, so I don't need to reiterate that. So, let's go to the Git. So then the Git models, they have to retrieve the value at the given position. That takes in the string key, but then it retrieves it from that space. Pretty much the same thing as the hash table, going through the hash, finding it, and then just at the bottom it will. I mean, if it doesn't find anything there, you've entered the wrong key. But if it does, then you get the value. Pretty simple. Unload. Where is it? There we go. Unload is super easy. Goes through the table and deletes the space at the index. So it's really weird, and I'm going to ask you about this in class tomorrow. But unloading works for the models, unloading works for the shaders, but the textures for some reason crashes when I X out of the program. Super weird. So I'm going to play this for you so you can see what I'm talking about. I don't know. It's saying something about the heap, so a little confused. So start debugging. Alright, so this works, obviously. It's super half-framey because my computer is not plugged in, but yes, it works. And then you can see over here that, everything was loaded. So yeah, then when I X out, then it gets a breakpoint. So I break it, but it goes to return 0. If I was playing this under the non-debug, it would have been like, oh, look at you have an error at the heap, and I don't know where you're doing this, so yeah, I got confused. But yeah, so the unloading does work because I put console messages out, and they're unloading the models, they're unloading the shaders, but when it gets to texture, well, it freaks out. So there's that. And the organization for it now. I separated the assets into the models, the shaders, the textures, so all the models are here. Shaders are there, textures are here, and then in the code I put in a user code folder for the future. So yeah, so I have that problem, but yeah, I'll ask you about that tomorrow in class. But otherwise, not bad of a starting week. I am much more optimistic about this class than I was with Centipede, but I did like Centipede, so don't get that wrong. Alright, thanks, Andre.